Well, I'd like you to meet my friend Barbara McFarland. And we've been sitting here reminiscing in her studio about how long ago we met. And back in the mid-60s, I used to come down here, loaded up my car with oil paints, and taught everybody down here how to paint old barns and snow scenes.
On canvas.
Yeah.
And you loved explaining to us how that canvas would move with the art paint, and you wanted that movement in there.
The bounce
And then you brought a lot of wine
that I made.
that you made, as I recall, some of it out of old tea bags.
Everything. Rutabagas, I made wine out of everything.
So we got the little art ladies in the art league all warmed up with the wine, and then they just let go with the paint.
Right. So it's hard to imagine that we go back that many years, and then you started traveling with me on a lot of international trips. But mostly I'm not only in love with this lady, I love her artwork. So I asked her to share with us today the unique way that she approaches art using Caran crayons and beautiful collage papers.
Well, we'll get into that, but I must tell you that Krylon has been such an inspiration to all of my art. And she's the one who started it, and we continue to grow with each other that way.
Right.
And continue to travel.
Well, you ready to share all
I'm
your good
ready.
stuff with us?
Let's do it.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to give you a little mini description of this technique, which I worked on this Christmas for the holidays, and it's really fun because you just get out all of your crazy collage papers and your throwing brush or toothbrush and start sprinkling paint around. I even did something with my little punches to put more white and colorful ornaments on here. Just cover, this is a little tiny canvas picked up from Walmart, or paper. This is just paper. And then once you get all of the colors down, kind of draw in where you want your funky trees or your funky birds. And then go around all of this with white paint, or this is white gesso. And you're doing negative painting, and that pops out the colors. And it's just something to have fun with, great to teach children to do. And you end up with these fun little mini paintings that are just, you can't really go wrong. This was one I wanted to try to make the trees look like they were shining at night. And blacken the background in the same negative way. I want to show you how I begin my collage papers. I really don't like to look at a blank canvas or a blank piece of watercolor paper. I want to be inspired by what I have down there and go from there. So I start with a tall garbage bag, white, and I use it over and over again. The more I use it, the better the texture I'm going to be able to pull off of this. And then we start also with a plain white sheet of tissue paper, which you can purchase at Walmart or your local dollar store. Put it on your plastic bag, and then we're going to wet it with clear water. And all over, don't worry if it does silly things like that or tears. You're probably going to end up tearing it anyway when you use it for collage paper. And then once the surface is wet, you can throw down your paint, use colors that enhance each other or next to each other on the color wheel, and slowly spread those around carefully. And this is, it does tear if you're not careful. If you do it enough times, you get a feel for it. And if it does tear, so what? And then once that has been covered, just let it dry. Very important step, let it dry. Then when it is dry, as this one is, it will peel off, and you will have these wonderful textures underneath. And then the paper becomes part of your collage palette. You can easily do anything to these papers. They're much stronger than the tissue paper. You can even go back and redo it if you want an even more brilliant color or stronger piece of paper. It becomes almost like leather. Fantastic way to get started with your collage papers. I want to show you what a palette of collage paper looks like. These have all been pulled off the plastic bags, and I keep them in a sequence of colors like this, so I can just pick up the color I'm looking for when I need it. But you can see what beautiful textures come from this, when it's pulled off that paper. And it's just amazing the surprises that you will get from it. Again, you can use this for wrapping paper too, but I like it for my art. But kids have more fun doing this, as do adults. Well, I'd like to show you some of the paintings that I have done with Caran watercolor crayons, and to show you the variety of them. This is one of the series that came out of that drum series, so I still have the circle in the back of the polar bear, but everything on here is done with the Caran crayons. And they are these wonderful multiple colored crayons that have strong pigments. I can never get to talk enough about these. The pigments are so condensed in here that when you activate them, even if you use them to draw, the colors become even more vivid. As you can see, this is collage paper, but a lot of the vivid colors in here, of the purples and the reds, are also done with the Caran crayons. This one too is almost all Caran. Again, the background has been done with the wonderful palette of colored tissue paper, with, again, the drum series with some of the Ojibwe symbols peeking through. And this black bear has some of the symbols, but everything on here is done with the crayons. In some cases you can see the lines where the colors haven't been activated, as in this painting of the black bear, again part of the drum series. And then once they're activated, again you get these brilliant, brilliant colors. I'd like you to take a look at how these paintings start, again with the collage papers. Already adhered to the paper or the canvas. This is how I travel. I have these all done ahead of time so that I can pack them in my backpack or my suitcase, and when I get to a destination, I can take them out and start painting whatever it is I'm looking at and what's inspiring me to paint at that point. So it's fun just to get these ready, and they're almost abstract. Well, they are abstract, but they're almost a finished painting in some way, but I have not worked on any composition with these particular ones. They're just adhered to the paper, the substrate. And then some of them are very basic, some I get a little more detailed with. This one I have started a bit of a cruciform design, and I'll go into this and enhance it with whatever subject that I'm going to be looking at. I'd like to talk to you a little bit again about the forgiveness of using watercolor paints and watercolor crayons on this background. You can come in with the color, and I just wanted some abstract lines going through here, maybe to enhance a composition, in this case the cruciform. And I think, oh, I don't know, that's not exactly what I want. I can then go over it, activate it a little bit, take a sponge, and it will wipe right off. And I can go back and try something else. Now this is already finished with acrylic paint, and it's been sealed. So I can do anything to this surface with something new in the way of watercolors and watercolor crayons, and it will still wipe off. But once it's sealed, that's permanent. So I'm going to work on this painting with the Caran. Again, the background is sealed with the acrylic collage paper that we've used. And now I can work on here with my Caran crayons and watercolor paints. And that way, if I see something that's not working, it's not permanent, and I can wash it off. Then I will seal the painting with a sealer, sprayed on, not brushed on. That will just mix the mix the colors and we'll lose everything that we put on here. So we have to spray the fixative on, and then after that, if I want to go back and put a more permanent fixative over that, I can. So I'll go ahead and work on this. And I'm using as a reference point another painting that I did a while ago, just to get my bear started. To accomplish here is something that's not exactly like the painting that I was taking, the original painting that I was taking this from. And I'm trying to give more character to the bear and still using the colors in my palette of bright colors. And it takes a little more detail work at this point. So basically I have all the colors in that I want, and now I want to play with it and do some quirky things, but I also want to give more life to the eyes. And usually that takes a dark color. And I'm using my watercolors at this point because I can get a little more intensity with the dark colors by mixing red and green. And it's a phthalo green with a pretty strong red to get a black that has some life to it. and yet doesn't stand out, make the eyes that outstanding, but still gives them some character. Because this bear looks a bit sad, and I want him to look a little sad. In the original painting, he was meant to, the idea was that he was caught in town where he shouldn't have been, and he couldn't figure out how to get out. I mean, there's a whole story behind what my mind was projecting onto the painting. And bears have that quizzical look to them when they're caught doing something that it's in their nature to do, but it doesn't quite fit into the civilization that they are now found in. I'm somewhat finished. I still will have a few other things to do here, but I think he has the expression that I want mainly. And I like the fact that there's a lot of texture in this painting, the colors are vivid, and he still has something to say to whoever's looking at it.